Kick is for an adult audience. The Kick may contain certain material that may be unsuitable for sensitive ears. Listener discretion is advised.
Hey, I'm not saying they're stupid. I like China.
Well, $15 an hour, first of all, as we said, it's not enough of a wage. That is why we have to also talk about taxing the super wealthy and big corporations.
Our president doesn't have a clue. He's a bad negotiator.
Institutions across America over history feels offended. We should acknowledge that politically incorrect and being racist.
They literally just fired a white guy for being a white guy.
This is a blame the victim situation. We should be ridding the world of bigotry. We should be talking about that rather than blaming it on the victim who feels hurt.
You tell me, Namiki, whether we are training these kids to be little cupcakes who never have to encounter anything offensive, or whether it's better to educate them that there are offensive things in life, and you have to deal with that in life.
News, politics, and discussion. This is The Kick.
What you say, what you say, what you say, what? Well, come like a boss.
All right, we're back here with The Kick on Longbox.FM, brought to you, of course, by Riley's Brewing.
There it is.
Is anybody else having headphone issues, or is it just me?
I'm good.
Okay, perfect. It's just me. We're doing it up tonight, starting a little bit late, and sorry for all those out there who've been sitting around waiting. It's an important show. We've been setting this one up for a while, but unfortunately, we had some changes. The two original guests could not make it tonight, and it was a scramble yesterday to throw together who we have in the room now, and we do have one hell of a show lined up for you. Before I get into that, let me say real quick, you can call us, contact us, be a part of the show in any way. It's 492-0450, or you can do Skype, and of course, you can chat in the chat room. We've got Vanna hanging out doing the live tweeting on a fancy touchscreen laptop there, although she's a little sick. And we got old co-host stepping in tonight because Ben couldn't make it. Turns out Ben's going to make it later anyways. Kevin.
Howdy.
How you doing?
Doing good.
Kevin, I know you're excited for tonight, but we got more excited over the original talk. This weekend I took a Constitution class, and I know that you are so happy as I'm saying all the words. You're like, you're getting it.
It's starting to come together. I've got a lot I still want to throw at you, but I have to leave little breadcrumbs.
Yeah, thanks, man. Mm-hmm. Thanks. You're Hansel and Greteling me.
You'll get there.
I would say if you ever find it, get the opportunity to take it. The Institute of IPS. I'm lost it. I'll put it up on the website, and we're hoping to have the speaker come in at some point here. I chatted with him after the show, but it's a good thing to learn about the Constitution. It matters so much.
Well, it's still relevant.
Say that again.
Well, it is still relevant.
That's unfortunately
kind of a tongue twister.
Well, that's kind of where it's going, unfortunately. Tonight's show, what we got going on, we got three awesome guests coming in that are here right now. It's Jacob Belemjian. Did I say it right?
Perfect.
Oh, man, I was practicing that all day.
Sorry, that was really good. I don't want to say
Okay, well, I'll call you Jacob the rest of the night to not screw this up. And you're running...
You can call me Jake if you want. Everybody else does.
Got it. Okay, Jake. You are running for Clovis Unified School District's board.
Yep, Area 4.
Area 4. And so, we'll get into that. Actually, let's do it now. You're going up against who?
Brian Hereford, I think is how you say his name.
It's okay to screw up his name.
That's pretty good. It's not perfect.
Trust me, I've had 44 years of having my name butchered, so for me, it's kind of a pet peeve. I like to always try to get people's names right. It's important.
Well, we'll just call him Bri for the night. And your reasoning for running?
About 6 or 7 months ago, I had thought about it off and on about getting into politics throughout my whole life. And I pretty much had resigned myself to that. It just wasn't for me. I'm a business guy. I'm into that stuff. I'm a junkie when it comes to entrepreneurs.
Amen.
And so I kind of thought I would just...
Sorry about that.
...cool off on the politics stuff. And I heard about some of the issues that were going on within Clovis Unified. My mom's retired from the district. Both of her sisters are retired from the district. My sister's a teacher in the district. So I've been around the district my entire life, even though I didn't go to school in Clovis Unified. I graduated from Bullard High School. But, the whole time I was in school, my mom worked for the district. So I kind of understood the Clovis way. I just wasn't fortunate enough to live in Clovis Unified to be able to attend those schools. So I attended a couple of meetings, and I was really disturbed. I'm like you. You're taking a Constitution class. I like the nuts and bolts, the mechanics of how things work, and my understanding of how the board's supposed to work. You have a school board, and then you have an administration, and they're supposed to be two separate entities, if you will. The board, for lack of a better word, dictates policy. They steer the ship of the district, and then they charge the administration with carrying out that charge, with carrying out what it is that we want done. And in watching what was going on, I was seeing that there was very little discussion in public. They hold these meetings in public, and there was very little discussion going on. The discussion that was going on was, do you think this is okay? Yes. Okay, let's vote on it. A complete lack of regard for input from parents and from other people.
You're saying the city council members were just quick about it.
No. School board.
I'm sorry. School board. They're short. The parents, the people who care, aren't getting a chance to speak.
So this is a district with over 42,000 kids, and the board meets every other week for about an hour and a half to 2 hours. I don't know how you conduct the business. Now, I understand that there's all kinds of committee meetings, and they have a closed session before the meetings, but still, imagine how much time the board of directors of a large company spends meeting and discussing where they're headed. We don't have that. That's the way we've always done it. We've been successful up till now. It's worked for us in the past, and we're going to keep on doing it this way. And I can't tell you how much that just raises my cackles when I hear somebody say, that's the way we've always done it. It's always worked. It's like, really?
So you're one of four trying to go in and shake up the board.
Yes.
So, question. I actually went to Central Unified School District. The only board meeting that I went to when I attended Central, West, and East Campus was what color to paint the gym. Yeah, and it was really
kind of eye-opening.
Yeah, because I was actually the student trustee for Fresno Unified, and the way that you guys run your meetings, it is so short. So, my question to you would be: are you a parent of any students in CUSD currently?
I am. So, to elaborate on your question, Chris, about what motivated me. So then I started doing some digging, and 6 out of the 7 board members have been on the board 20 years or longer.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I'm a term limits person. I think you need to have turnover.
You're saying they're tenured.
Well, basically. And then the other thing is that there's 7 trustees, and not one of them has kids in jail.
In jail?
I'm sorry.
In school.
Same thing.
You're worried about what's getting cut up and played tomorrow.
Yeah,
that's what we model the new school designs after, actually.
So none of these board members have kids in school. And I was thinking about it, and I asked a few people about it, and most people were really surprised when they found out that was the case. And a couple of people said, well, yeah, but I'm sure they have grandkids in school. And I said, yeah, I'm sure they do. That's absolutely plausible. I said, but you know what? My parents live a couple miles away from where my wife and our kids live, and we see them 3 times a week regularly. But when Grandma and Grandpa come over, or we go over to their house, they don't want to talk about school. They want to talk about, let's go get ice cream. Do you want to go to the movies this weekend? When's your next water polo tournament? It's not, how are you doing in math class? And, do you like your teacher? What's your teacher saying? It's not what's talked about. And I'm not saying this to thrust blame, or, I don't have anything against the board. It's just that these are things that are important. These are my kids that they're making decisions about, and I'm unhappy with the way that those decisions are being made.
So you're actively trying to change it.
Absolutely.
One quick question before I go to our next guest here. Common Core, for or against?
Oh, that's a complicated question.
Do I need to draw out some boxes for the math?
So here's the thing. So I don't like the federal government dictating to the states, and the states dictating to the local districts. If Common Core was such a great idea, how come they had to dangle the carrot out in front of everybody to get them to change?
And then force them into it by removing their funding if they didn't.
Yeah. I mean, and that's,
there's movements going on right now in other states to get rid of it.
There is. And my opinion of Common Core is the same as my opinion of Obamacare. I'm a small business person. We provide health benefits to our employees, which I'm an employee of the company. So my family has health benefits through our plan. And since Obamacare went into effect, our rates have gone like off the charts. Right? Coverage went down and rates went up. Deductibles went up. Copays went up.
That all worked out well for us.
So yes, I want Obamacare repealed, but right now it's the system that we have, and no one has put forth a plan that says, okay, we want to get rid of Obamacare, and this is what we're going to replace it with.
How about nothing and just make it privatized?
But there has to be a plan to do that. If Obamacare tomorrow went away, just like if Common Core tomorrow went away, there would be a vacuum. So no, I don't like it. No, I don't support it. But we need to figure out how we're going to transition off of it.
Well, Obamacare is not going to go anywhere because it allows access to fines and penalties for not getting in, as well as access to more and more access to your records and data. So that's stuck. Like a tax, once it's levied, it'll never go away.
Oh, most definitely. Most definitely.
Another guest we have sitting around the table here. Last minute, we were able to get this put together. Josh Fulfer. Got that right?
Yep, got it right.
Okay. And now you are the founding member of the Facebook page Stop the Madness CUSD?
That is correct.
Okay. Now I got to know you through Mike Stovall. He was the one who wanted to or who was pushing to do a show about this. So unfortunately he couldn't make it tonight, but we tried rework and finding out, and like I said, we got you last minute here, which is perfect. The admin from this. Give us a little bit about you and the background of this web page, and of course, those listening, you know where we're going with the show now.
Okay. Well, I have 2 children that are in Clovis Unified School District. I went to Clovis Unified myself, and kind of what Jake said is what started my group, or actually their group, is I went to a couple board meetings and realized that when parents talked, they were all the board would say is, okay, thank you, and you would go back and sit down, and you would do that week after week. And there was a lot of issues that parents were concerned about. One started years ago, which was Common Core, and some of the curriculum that passes. You had one board member on there that read the curriculum and said, well, hold on, before we need to pass this, I think we need to look into it. And they go to a vote, and it's 6-1. So 6 board members really didn't care about the curriculum that was being passed, regardless of what was inside it. Then came the dress code issue, and that fired up a lot of people. And the problem I think a lot of people had is the way it was portrayed was it was regarding a dress code. And it wasn't. It was regarding state law. They were adhering to a state law that had to do with gender equality. They couldn't come out and tell you that. They couldn't be transparent about anything.
Was this 2014-ish?
2013.
2013.
Yeah, it's when Jerry Brown enacted that law.
Greatest governor ever.
Well, because Clovis, you guys had the long hair rule, and I know that was a really big deal.
Yeah.
And it was, under the ears, not even the chin?
You can't go below the ears, halfway past the dress shirt collar. And a lot of people that grew up there, I went there, I hated it. I hated it. Till I had kids, and I realized what kind of, structure that brought to them, because when they get in the real world, they're not going to go in a job interview, with a mohawk or anything else like that. So I thought, okay. So the board went and they voted 4-3 to keep the dress code. And a couple weeks later, due to all kind of backlash and the ACLU and everybody else giving them trouble, they go in, they have a meeting. No parents are there, a lot of activist groups. And then they schedule a meeting for the next week. I find out, I go in there, I was the only parent to talk. And I walked out of there, and they passed it 6-1. And so I was a little frustrated and went outside, and there was other parents that were frustrated too. It wasn't just the fact of that one item, it was just the fact that our voices were not being heard. So I got home and I started a little Facebook page thinking it's going to be family and friends. And
2,000 something later.
Yeah, exactly. We got to over 2,000 members now, and a lot of we have a group of different, I guess you could say, perspectives on a lot of different things. Most people disagree with Common Core. Most people had heard of a story that had went out where, with the transgender issue, where 2 girls were forced to change in a locker room and were not given the option to go to a nurse's office, or they were going to be failed. So when some of that started coming out, that started raising, and I was like, well, hey, okay, if we're going to have equal rights, let's have equal rights for everybody. Mm-hmm. Not just one group or, the other group. And as we continued to grow, we kept going to board meetings. The average board meeting probably has 5 to 7 parents, unless it's a boundary change or an award ceremony. So our group went in there, 40 to 60 people. In July, when there was no school, I think we had almost 80 people. Mm-hmm. We would have 10 to 15 speakers, and all you hear from the board is contact Janet Young, which is a superintendent. Not us as a board will communicate this. Us as a board really need to look into that.
Yeah, like why the hell are you here?
Yeah, isn't it the job of the board to Okay.
Absolutely. Right. So we had our own meeting, and about 70 people showed up. We were in a banquet hall, and these people said, okay, here's what, first of all, we need to create a political action committee. And we went with what the majority said. And second of all, hopefully people will run for office that we can support. That we can sit there and say, okay, we agree with this, with their stance. They want communication. They want our voices, the parents' voices, to be heard, because you go in there and you get shut down.
Why aren't you running? You pull 2,000 people onto a site.
Actually, 2018, they do different trustee areas. Mm-hmm. I might just be up there if I can get some good endorsements.
What area do you live in?
I believe Betsy Sandoval's area.
Oh, okay.
And
all right. Better bring a lot of money.
Let me go throw this now to our last guest here on the night, Zoyer Zindel. You are representing now. I know that you're current chair at Trans Emotion.
That's correct.
And you're coming in with. And we were talking before the show, and this has been a struggle since the very first time we had Karen Adele Scott on, and we were talking about just transgender in general. The bathrooms was an issue, but it was a small part to a bigger topic for the night. But the confusion, because it's not a clear... This isn't like we want transgenders out. Oh, no, we need to be in, or we want a bathroom. No, you can't. There's nothing clear cut. It seems like everybody's got a different view on this. There's a lot of concentric circles happening. There's a lot of heated passion and emotion to it, and that's, again, part of what we're trying to do today is figure that out. Your side of it is going to obviously you're representing the transgender, the rights of, and then again, as we go into this, figuring out what that means exactly in this case and scenario. And this is the AB
1266.
Mm-hmm. Okay, AB 1266. And that's what part of this. And again, I'm so sorry for being a terrible host here. It's a hard. Again, this is not vote yes or no on Hillary. It's a confusing topic. So you're representative.
Yeah. My name is Zoyer Zindel. I've been chair of Trans Emotion for a little while. I've been involved with the transgender community for 10 years. I am an alumni of Clovis Unified School District. I attended and graduated from Clovis West. And my background is in social work, and so I'm coming from that perspective. This first came onto my radar from one of our members in our organization. There was discussion about the dress code and about transgender students being sent home and being essentially denied their right to express themselves fully in terms of how they identify internally, and I think there was a lot of the discussion was around not feeling like transgender was seen as a valid identity, as being seen as a true demographic of our community, people worthy of growing up and contributing to larger society. And And so we were, very concerned about the message that was being communicated to our transgender youth and also youth of color when they're going to school and being imposed on in terms of, it being communicated that the way you dress, isn't good enough. Is it professional for this school?
Like, it's picking on transgender kids more than anyone else. Is that how you mean that?
I think that this issue addresses both transgender people and students of color as both.
Okay, it just got deeper.
But both issues were discussed in our meetings. I've met with, other activists on the topic. We've been meeting with the superintendent, the head of the 55 psychologists in Clovis Unified, and also the person in charge of high school activities. And so we had been meeting with them, and yes, issues around people of color came out, but it seemed like the issue that was getting the most attention by the media and through an enduring amount of time was the gender diverse issues and folks feeling like their rights are being violated.
Jacob.
Zoyer, could you explain to me what you mean by people or students of color having issues? So I'm of Middle Eastern descent, so I'm quasi a person of color, and so could you just explain that so that I can understand it?
Yeah, I understand. This is what has been communicated to me, that for some of the African American students, they experienced being told that they had to cut their hair or comb their hair a certain way.
Like if they have dreads or...
Right, and so they felt that the people enforcing these policies were not knowledgeable about, how they comb their hair.
You mean in the sense that maybe... Sorry to step on you here. Maybe the sense like you need to look like a good old-fashioned Clovis white boy. The hair has to be part on the side. That's like, is that where the feeling is we're being attacked and being forced into looking like this?
That's what was communicated to me.
Yeah.
Okay.
I can actually verify that. I was on the debate and forensics team. I graduated 2008, and on the debate team we're with all the different schools, and we're lumped in with, Selma, Visalia, as far as Hanford and Clovis. And me being from McLean at the time, I made friends with a lot of the Clovis kids because their debate team was huge. And one of the girls, she was African American, and the teacher, right in the middle of us, talking, we just got done with our debate rounds, goes up to her and tells her, "How old are those braids?" She had just gotten them done 4 days ago. And if you have, any type of hair, that's a process that can be really expensive. The hair services to get your hair braided goes anywhere, when I was in beautician school, as low as $100. That's minimum. So to financially be able to upkeep with their standards of what's considered nappy or presentable, it's a really, really blurred line. It's all about who tells you, hey, this isn't nice looking.
Well, and then also, I agree with some of the issues with the dress code, and unfortunately, when you have so many schools, every school enforced the dress code differently. That was where there was not a fine line. You could get dress coded for some things at one school that you wouldn't at another. Mm-hmm. And I believed it needed some refining, but I didn't believe it needed to come down from the state law. I think that's where you get the parents involved of every race, every background, and you listen to your community. The community needs to decide what it wants for its school. Not Governor Brown, not President Obama. It needs to come locally. And many people I talked to knew, if you looked at people that were hiring, they would look at a kid from Clovis a lot harder than they would from a kid from outside that district. And it is the truth. The grades, and it's not just, it has to do a lot with obviously the community itself. It's like the board members want to take credit for the scores. They're not sitting at my dinner table at night helping my kids with the homework. Mm-hmm. It's a great community, and I think if you allow the community on all these issues to come together, instead of having something imposed on you from a state law, I think you could actually reach across the table and work something out that both parties agree on that doesn't interfere or impose on one or the other.
Yeah, Jacob.
But that's not globalism. That's not the government controlling every facet of your life. And this is what I'm guessing that you're railing against as well.
We need government in our lives, absolutely.
Yeah, whatever.
Zoyer.
One of our concerns with Clovis Unified in the dress code in particular was their lack of specification. Prior, before the first change, they used the term exotic. Exotic, right. Nothing looked too exotic. And then so...
I'm getting some images in my mind.
We had made complaints to them, and then so they changed the word to distracting. Distracting. So our concern was that whoever is enforcing this policy, whatever they find to be distracting would be against dress code policy. There wasn't enough specification. So if you have an administrator who is biased against gender variant people, gender variant students, it may be distracting to them, but not to their peers. And so the student gets sent home. That was our concern.
Jacob.
So the boundaries, I totally agree with Zoyer. The boundaries need to be clearly defined for all students. I'm fine with that, but they need to be clearly defined. So distracting was the word that you used, and exotic. Those are both very subjective descriptors.
Yeah. I had distracting in 94 through 98 when I was in high school. I remember that was one of the dress code terms.
Yeah. So I mean, I don't think I agree with Zoyer. That's not a fair measure. You know, an inch. When you say it's an inch long, everybody knows what that means because they can go get their ruler and look at it and go, "Oh yeah, that's an inch. My inch is the same as your inch is the same as everyone else's inch." Right.
Hold on a second. When it comes to dress code, is this just people with too much time on their hands figuring out a new policy to enact?
Well, the law changed is what ignited all this.
Okay. Because it just seems like wasting too much time on something that has nothing to do with teaching.
Now there's...
Welcome to administration.
There's a nerve. So the two goals for every parent, or the two most important things I think for almost every parent for their kids is, number one, for their kids to be safe, and number two, for their kids to be educated. Right? All the other stuff, that all comes later. That's all farther down on the list. But safety and education. So what does the dress code have to do with safety?
I would say if you had spikes and studs on your clothes.
Okay.
So yeah, that's that.
But
if
that's
it's a
extreme.
weapon,
That's
I can
something
see
extreme,
that. Yeah.
though. We're getting out in the weeds a little bit here.
Yeah.
And what does it have to do with educating?
That's where the distraction comes in.
I guess,
so somebody with, rainbow-colored hair and so forth, that's going to draw a lot of attention outside of, what would be typical.
Vanna walks into a room, she'll look more distracted than if I did.
I was student body president with pink hair, and I challenged them. I was like, fight me on it.
And they didn't?
No, because it was there was this girl with red hair that was really bright red. So me being on the board, I said, look, I'll wear a wig if you need me to.
Yeah.
But until she dyes her hair differently, I feel like that bright red is no more distracting than my bright pink.
Yeah, and I think Clovis takes a little bit of pride in the Clovis way of life. So when it came to the dress code, and like I said, I was against the change. Was I for them changing things? If you're a girl that's 5'3", and you have to have a pair of shorts that are 4 inches from the knee, and you have a girl that's 5'10", how does you got somebody that can't wear shorts? So address it correctly, because what you're trying to hide is the behind. So don't measure from the knee up.
Yeah, you got cheeks showing. You're doing it wrong.
Yeah. So, I mean, there was obviously some things, and Clovis likes to keep the conservative values. So you can understand that comes from behind a lot of the Clovis people, even some of the board members at one point before they got scared, they spoke out and said, well, we get job recruiters all the time calling us and this and that. And until, like I said, the ACLU and the activist groups, they just backed down. But again, was the community involved? Did the community get to make a say? Did I get to go down there and say, hey, let's meet in the middle somewhere? Nope, the state decided for us. And and that's where most of our members are like, no, the state needs to stay out of it. Let us have some local control over our education.
Sounds like a deeper issue that goes into more, we need to set the world on fire and say it's our community. You can't boss us. Which is the kick for the last, 4 months?
I'm not advocating arson of any kind.
Zoyer, any follow-up to this?
Well, I think, I can understand the desire to have autonomy in community and the need for feedback and being heard and being understood. And I think in this particular instance, particularly in terms of the dress code in the bathroom, we have an issue of safety indeed. We are looking at a population that is already disenfranchised, already
Are you
targeted.
talking transgender population?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. Especially the youth who are already at high risk of suicide as well. So I'm just trying to set up some context here as far as what this community endures on a daily basis. And I went to Clovis Unified. I was out as transgender. And I remember a guidance counselor told me that if you don't want to be made fun of, then don't tell anybody about you. And I remember forever thinking that if I'm going to be successful, I can't be honest. And so it perpetuated this mentality of I don't belong in Clovis. So it with regards to being able to use the bathroom that corresponds to the internal gender identity, it's not just a matter of logistics. This is a matter of validating who this person is on the inside and understanding that someone's gender isn't based on anatomy. It's based on the brain, a function of the brain.
Yeah, see, now you're getting to a spot that I know for a lot of our listeners and a lot of just population, and this is what Karen did that was so great. This is a hard bridge right here.
Sure.
Kevin, oh no.
Okay, so as far as your right to express yourself freely as a libertarian and a say anarcho-capitalist, whatever, I'm fully on board with that. You have a right to speak freely, you have a right to express yourself, you have a right to think however you'd like. You don't have a right to make other people agree with what you feel. And so when we get down to this gray area of gender identity and how many are there 76, I've heard up to every single person has their own gender identity. You get into this subjective area where there is no line in the sand. So the line in the sand really comes down to what the biological empirical evidence is, which is there are genetic markers that determine whether or not you are male or female. Now, these are biological markers, so we can separate this from the brain function and the gender identities that come in with the brain, because that's still subjective. That's how you feel you should be, or how you identify as. This is all entering that subjective area. The objective area is the male and female, the XY and the XX. So when we have issues like bathroom usage and public use, all public codes are going to be based off of male and female, the two individual sexes that exist. So it's not that you can't start writing laws and writing code to give special treatment to people who identify however they want. Now, you're free to identify however you want, but nobody is free to have me agree with it and to move forward with it. So that's where the real line of the sand is. And it's not bigotry, it's not bias to say these things. You have to accept that biologically there are two sexes. You can argue all day how many genders there are, but that does not refute the fact that there are two sexes, and people of those individual sexes have equal rights. The rights to privacy, the rights, to defend themselves and so forth. The right to privacy is violated when somebody of another sex is now allowed or is forced, or somebody of a female sex is forced to undress with somebody of a male sex through state-sanctioned laws. You're now getting into this very gray area where no, the state does not have the right to determine these things. or I guess the state, it would be a state issue as far as the Constitution's concerned.
As I learned this week, in the states have the ultimate authority, just never ever used. So,
yeah,
Zoyer.
Yeah, no, I can understand the perspective that it's easy to make policy off of things that are measurable.
Definitely,
like biology, and so. How do I communicate that these people don't just wake up on a whim and say, I'd like to identify as the opposite sex? No, it's very traumatizing, very difficult to come out and let the rest of the world know that you're one of this group that gets killed every year, right? And so I think you're saying special treatment. There is nothing special about being born in a world that wasn't crafted for you. There's nothing special about being at risk of being killed every day. There's nothing special about having less access to education, employment, housing, medical care, what related to your transition or not. You know, we go to the clinic and they say, we don't serve your kind here. You know, they'll be as blatant as that.
So, but that's in violation of state law. They can't do that.
Oh, absolutely.
That's illegal.
I'm glad you mentioned that, because they do.
It's illegal.
Yeah.
As an individual, you have a right if it's publicly funded.
No shirt,
resources.
no shoes, no gender identification, no service.
Even in private business, I can't put out a sign in my business that says we don't allow transgender people.
Oh, of course.
That's illegal. That's discrimination.
They won't say it in plain print.
I understand that.
Yeah.
But you said the words, you know, we don't serve your kind here. If somebody says that,
they've said that.
They got to be called to the carpet right now.
Sure.
Because that's not right. And state law protects you from those kinds of things.
Absolutely. I just want to finish.
At least it's supposed to.
One point in that, I get what you're saying about the safety issue. The only problem is if you get somebody that, we'll say, looks like a girl and they were born male, and then tell them to use the men's restroom or the boys' restroom.
So I have a question.
And that's asking for bullying and a whole lot of aggression right there.
Yeah. Let me respond real quick, and I'll say that I would agree, because there are assholes in the world. That's not something we can get away with.
No FCC here.
we can say assholes.
I'm not offended.
For now.
For now.
Everybody is subject to violence at pretty much all times. So there is no right to safety. There is a right to privacy, but there is no right to safety.
You're going to have to explain that one just a little bit, because I think people listening would be like, what?
The question is, how do you guarantee your right to be safe?
You can't.
You can't.
It's impossible.
You can't legislate risk. So you have a right to your own, to be private in your persons, your possessions, and your property and all those things, but you do not have a right to be safe, because that means you have to enforce somebody else to make sure that you're safe at all times. Mm-hmm. So that I know what you mean. There's just that line in the sand there that, yes, bullying absolutely does happen. You know, I'm 6'9". Up until 10 years ago, I was 320 pounds. Like, the world's not made for me either, whatsoever.
Yeah, he dropped some weight
that I had to deal with myself. And I know it's I just lost weight, but I'm still very tall. I've got back problems and so forth that come with it. So we all kind of get dealt a hand that is shitty for some, more or less, than others. We just kind of have to make do with what we have. But as far as what you're saying, the bathroom, forcing a male to use the male bathroom is not, that's not force. You're actually required to. Anyway, go ahead.
I guess my question was, so if I have a 10-year-old daughter, or she'll be 12, and she's forced to have, because to me, the definition of transgender is somebody who has transitioned, not somebody who feels they're of the opposite sex. So right now, as state law would represent, my daughter could be forced to have to change in a locker room. That might be against my morals, my beliefs. I mean, to me, that's imposing something on somebody who just wants to go to a locker room and change. And now, to me, the discrimination, if that's what transgenders are saying they were being discriminated on, which, like I said, they're not transgender. How does that work for the other side now? That's what I don't understand, and that's where I can't get it, is because my daughter at 12 years old, I don't want her to see a naked boy. I don't want her to see a boy changing in her locker room, and that's just me being a father. Mm-hmm. And then I want to understand how that works. So from your point of view, how do you feel on that?
Well, let Zoyer answer that, and then Jacob.
Okay, so for folks who are uncomfortable changing in the locker room with a transgender individual, I understand that there are shower curtains being put up where folks who are uncomfortable, transgender or not transgender, because they're not going to make a designated area for transgender people. That would be segregation.
And it'd be illegal.
Right.
Oh, I know Kevin's ready for that.
And so, I mean, your daughter has, the full right to go and change in that designated area.
So, and that would be my question. So now, to me, she is being discriminated against by not being able to change with her peers. In that sense, because that's what it seems like the other side is fighting for.
Her right to privacy.
I actually, having been like the youngest person in the room, I'm assuming, my PE teacher, like, we always had days, like, I would bring my PE clothes in the bathroom and change in the bathroom sometimes, to be honest with you. When I was in 7th grade, I didn't feel comfortable, just because I grew up super, super conservative, and I don't know, I felt weird, like with cup sizes and stuff and bras and all that stuff.
That's normal.
It is normal.
Kids, it's normal.
People always forget, like, have some initiative. If you personally, like you said, your daughter, you don't want your daughter going, tell her, hey, this is the way that the world is right now. Before class, the 7 minutes that you have to walk, go to the bathroom and change before your PE class, because equality for all is more important right now, sadly, than that one or two few people who are straight and grew up like that feel uncomfortable. Like, there's nobody really regulating that. Like, I mean, I don't know what you parents think, but like, you could totally just go to the bathroom. Like, there's really no one watching.
That's not equal to his daughter, though, to have to
not
accept
only
that.
It isn't, but it is what we might have to do. I'm just offering alternatives, because, I mean, building a whole other bathroom, and the lines are just ridiculous.
Well, we'll get into that. But
I'm just saying that to me is discrimination against my daughter. And people have beliefs, whether you're religious or not. What if you're raised religious?
I think it's 2016. Everyone's going to feel offended until they have their own locker they can climb into and change.
And also, I don't want to invalidate you at all, but the thing is, for the discomfort she feels for, 10, 15 minutes, consider how transgender people have felt their whole entire lives, being made to feel that they are unworthy and without dignity, and it's an imposition on them to make them use the bathroom of their natal sex that they never identified with.
So we're going to put that on somebody who's not transgender and make them feel the same way, I guess. That's what I'm kind of hearing.
Well, we can't control how she feels.
She would feel the
we can't
same
control
way.
how you feel.
On either side.
Okay, hold on. Yeah, I know
we can't
Jacob's
control how the transgendered
Jacob's been being fairly patient here.
But you're right. I'm sorry.
Okay, so first of all, I am of the opinion that democracy is inherently dangerous.
That's why we're a republic.
I don't mean dangerous in that we're going to self-destruct. I mean it's dangerous in that we are a free people, the freest nation in the world, regardless of what's transpired over the last 10 or 12 years. But we are a free nation, and with freedom comes risk. And I personally relish that risk. That's what makes me feel like I'm alive. I like motorcycles. I like guns. I like fast cars. All those things, and they're all very, or can be, risky activities, and that is the spice of life. I actually, I know someone. Actually, I will call her a friend, who is a transgender person. Was a male and had gender reassignment surgery, and when I first talked to Chris, and he said that Karen Adele Scott, did I get that right?
Yeah.
Was going to be here. I didn't know who she was. Remember I said, who's that?
Yeah.
I didn't know who she was. So I did some homework. So I watched some videos, listened to some speeches that she gave so that I could have an understanding of where she was coming from. So one of the other things I did, though, was I spoke with this person that I know who is a transgender individual. And this person is in their 50s. They've been around a while. They've seen a lot of bad things, which I'm sure you have as well. And was married and has kids, was in the military, has had a very colorful, actually that's not a nice word to use.
Life of color. An
interesting life, Now colorful, I think, has, when you say it that way, has some negativity to it. And I don't intend that. Just has experienced a lot in her life. And so I asked this person, I said, so, this is what's going on in Clovis. What do you think? If somebody just came to you and said, hey, what do you think about this whole bathroom thing? And quite honestly, I was really surprised by the answer that she gave. The first thing that she said was, in elementary schools, K through 6, she says boys and girls are basically the same. There's not a huge difference biologically between boys and girls. She said that, and I'm not saying that I agree or disagree with what she said. I'm just sharing it with the group. So she said that boys and girls are very much the same. She says yes, there's boys and girls, but they're very immature. They have not hit puberty yet. And she said in that instance, if a transgender boy identifies as a girl and truly wants to be a girl and dresses like a girl, acts like a girl, and I don't like that word acts, but I don't know how else to say it.
For lack of a better
word. I mean, I act like a man because I'm a man. So acts like a girl, dresses like a girl, behaves like a girl, then that person should be able to use the girl's bathroom.
Right.
No big deal, right? She said, I feel the same way about older kids when it comes to the bathrooms. And I said, okay. And she says, but the locker rooms for junior, and this stunned me when she said this, for junior high and high school, when kids hit puberty, she said transgender kids should get a waiver from PE. They should not be subjected to that. And for the reasons that Zoyer mentioned about safety, there was a lot of things that were brought to my attention by this person about the risks. So she told me that transgender individuals are at 10 times the risk of being having a violent attack or being murdered, 10 times a normal person. So her position was that they should be given a waiver from PE. They should not be forced to be subjected to this because they've already, as Zoyer said, have already been subjected to this ostracization.
Ostracization.
Nice.
I'll slur it out for you.
So I thought that was very interesting. And that was one of the things that one of the potential solutions or remedies was given to give non-transgender students to be able to get an independent study PE or a waiver from physical education. Like my kids play sports. My kids don't need PE, but some kids don't get a lot of physical activity, and I think they should participate in PE.
And that goes back to districts. I played softball, and when I was in Central Unified, it was mandatory that I had PE. But when I went to Fresno Unified, they were like, "Oh, you play softball and you already had 2 years of PE. You don't need it anymore. I'm done." Yeah. So I was able to focus more on education, which I thought was awesome. And I mean, unless I think healthy activities begin at home. I think PE is great, but for situations like that, I mean. Like I said, I graduated 2008. I remember we had a gay kid in PE, and he was really, really open and being out, and he got beat up in the bathroom. And I remember that was a really, really big deal. And now it's like, I didn't even know what transgender was back then. So, I mean, it's for as progressive as we are, we're still really backwards with the whole bullying situation in a lot of schools.
So I just want to finish what was discussed with my conversation with this person. Something that's not being talked about yet, but it's going to be an issue, is sports. AB 1266 says that if you are a biological boy and you identify as a girl and you're a transgender, that you can play girl sports. And this person had an opinion on that as well. And her opinion was that in elementary school, so what? When I was in school, I'm old compared to everybody in this room.
Yeah, that 08 broke your heart. I saw that.
Yeah. You guys figured out my birth year in 1990?
Oh, thanks. I graduated high school the year you were born.
I was about to learn about Nirvana.
Dad? I'm just kidding.
Oh, my gosh. Wow.
Are you half Japanese?
But what I was going to say is that, for elementary school, even when I was in elementary school, we had a girl on our soccer team. And it was no big deal. Yeah. Right? Mm-hmm. And I mean, she was just a girl, And so I don't see it. That's she was saying that this isn't an issue. But when kids start getting into junior high and high school, when boys hit puberty and girls hit puberty as well, there's a difference. There's some biological differences.
Yeah.
And
go ahead. I'm sorry.
There's some biological differences. and I have not fact checked this, but I'm just going to throw a bomb out there.
Careful saying bomb on the air.
Oh yeah, sorry. Yeah, but you said the FCC wasn't listening.
It's the one word.
The NSA is.
Somebody told me that, and I don't know where this was, but I think it was somewhere on the East Coast, that there was a transgender boy, or there was a boy who was a track star who decided that he was transgender and was going to transition to being female. Well, when this happened, he decided, or she, what
is she?
Okay, so she decided that she wanted to compete on girls track, and she blew up all the records, all the girls' records. I mean, just smashed them. And this isn't. I mean, I don't know what the right answer is, but I do know that that's not right. That's not fair.
I've got 2 points. One was, okay, so as far as this law is concerned in California, and I'm pretty sure it's in California, I know in New York it's this way, there is no proof needed for someone who is transgender to be able to gain the special privileges or the special protections under these laws. And the problem there is that there is no measurable identifiers of genders. Or indicators of genders. I know the study you were referencing. I read before I showed up. I glazed over it a little bit and caught a few here and there. And they were talking about the brain as a child and the embryo getting flooded with more testosterone and more estrogen at certain times, and changing the gender of the child after the sex has been determined, and this. And I tried to follow the link to the press release, and it was busted. Also, this was all off of Huffington Post, so take it with a grain of salt.
Yeah.
But back to all of the locker room stuff. Like I said before, everybody is subject, obviously, to the assholeness of other people. And instead of trying to regulate other people's behavior, is it out of the question to take like a self-defense class, or to, for people who are transgendered who are subject to this at higher numbers, to take the initiative in this way, and take a step towards self-defense class or something
like an older mentor or a buddy to help you along
before we start shaping policy of the state. Is it possible to find a more efficient route? Because I would think that the end result after the self-defense class would be a far greater character benefit to anybody, knowing that they can stand their own in front of other people, than to have special protections come in from the state.
Are you talking about personal responsibility?
A little bit.
This is a special show of Vanna and Kevin are on the same point. Zoyer, let me go ahead and give a response to that, and then we're going to wrap up, take a quick break so everybody can hit our gender neutral bathroom and reload on their drinks and fill their lungs with more truth. Zoyer.
That the self-defense class has been part of the conversation in our community. The only concern I have is, you said it builds character, and you mean of the transgender individuals taking the course?
I just mean anybody that comes out of the other side of a self-defense class with the confidence of knowing that they can stand their own a little bit stronger.
Or what if we did offer the self-defense class, but also work to shape our culture in this community, and the fear of difference that we have rampant in Clovis and Fresno. So, I mean, it doesn't have to be just one thing. I told you I'm a social worker, so macro, micro, meso
solutions,
and approaching it on a micro level, becoming more physically fit, and and then also on a macro level, looking at our culture and the way and what is creating our culture. And I think lack of inclusivity, lack of education, lack of awareness, lack of understanding that it's very simple. These folks just want to pee and change, in a place that is not degrading for them.
So
go ahead, Jacob. Rule breaker. Go ahead. One more.
So, if I'm understanding what you said correctly, you're saying that a transgender person that's going to school and is in fear of being victimized in some way should take a self-defense class. And I would just flip that question around: is if your kids went to school and somebody told you, well, your kid's being bullied, you need to send him to karate class. I mean, no.
Wow, his face is.
I probably would after that, but
I'm finding myself in a bit of a precarious position right here, because I'm advocating for something that I think is just it's just a basic human decency thing.
Yeah.
And I think it's unfair and unrealistic to ask or to expect someone to do that.
Agreed.
We've all agreed that we have that democracy can be dangerous and that we take risks, and that's what makes life exciting. But at the same time, we should have some confidence that we're not just going to be randomly victimized for no reason.
Certainly.
Or for things that maybe we can do something about.
Take last word before we go?
Yes. We're going to go ahead and head to a break here. When we come back, we'll discuss more about how democracy is bad and the oligarchy that we live in now is dominating everything. And, of course, maybe the abolition of PE as we know it here in Clovis Unified School District and all other things. And maybe talk a little bit about Fresno Unified School District and why the hell they have escaped all of this.
Oh, I have a good answer for that.
Because Vanna was their student board
This was my moment, Vanna.
I'm just saying, I like to take credit.
That's all going on. Coming up next, we're gonna clear our minds. The show is brought to you by Stuart Kwan's Karate and, of course, Riley's Brewing. We'll be right back with the kick.
I took his class.
Yeah, are we clear? Stuart Kwan Karate. We can speak freely now?
Yes.
Hey, I just got to tell all of you guys, this is awesome.
This is
respectful.
a lot of fun.
A lot of ideas going back and forth, and actually fun was the word that I was going to use. I'm enjoying this.
This is what
You stole my word.
Achieve week to week here. It's a different show than what you get on any other thing.
Well, I want to be on the unpolitically correct show. That's
He
what
would
I
be good
want
for that. He would be good for that. Let the dog off the chain.
Please. I've had to be good for like the last 90 days.
So, were we going to come back after the break?
Yeah, just a quick break, refill, do whatever you got to do.
I'd like to see this gender neutral bathroom.
It's sad, I'm sorry. Watch out.
Oh no. I didn't break anything, did I?
No, they're quick release.
Oh no.
And this mic stand sucks. So here it is. Here, all good.
Okay.
So yeah, go ahead and get all comfy, and then we'll be back here in a minute.
Thank you. And then ends at 9?
Yeah, just about then. Depending on, I'll try to keep it moving along, but you can see how it's going. So.
Yeah.
You're having fun, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it should be nice. So it's going to play out through this. And now I'll do the slideshow with that break. When we come back,
where's the
back down, straight down the hall and just to the right. We come back, you'll hit that again to reset it, and then go back to your 4-shot with the hit contact. You want this? That's before, yeah. So that editing-wise, we'll chat it out. You'll be running the show. That simple, that easy. Be a part of the Valley's biggest internet radio station that's supporting everything here in the Valley.
Longbox.FM.
Because it has my special friend in it.
Oh.
I can't help it not being bottle caps.
I guess not.
I can't help it. You ever seen a squirrel monkey? Look it up on the internet.
My son on some days.
I gotta have one. It's a monkey like about this big.
Oh yeah?
Oh my god.
You talking like Friends style?
No, that's a capuchin monkey. I like monkeys.
This is live, right? Do we get a recording of it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Because I was going to say, because you had Karen and Adele's on recording.
Everything's on, and unlike some other places.
Hey, so do we only have 20 minutes left, or 25 minutes?
No, we can go a little longer, but we will kind of crunch it down because I know it's getting late and everybody's got to be up.
This is my off week. I have a schedule from hell one week.
That's what I was saying. Like
off week.
Normally we have our schedule.
Yeah.
But sometimes some shows the conversation just goes so well that people don't actually want to go. They like to stick.
But what else were we supposed to? We didn't talk about any of this stuff.
No, I'm Xing that all out.
We're gonna keep going with what we're going on.
Yeah.
You're gonna have Sheriff Mims on your show?
Yeah.
Nuh-uh.
Yep.
Can I come? I'm serious. She's my friend.
Really?
Yeah.
Convince her to show up in person. She's gonna be on Skype.
Really? Is she out of town?
No, it's late for her. I don't think she.
What time?
Tell her your experience.
So I'll call Tony Body.
Yeah.
You've been dealing with him?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll call Tony Body. He's my friend too. I'll call him tomorrow and see if I can. She may be concerned about being here too.
Well, I know they were talking about bringing a security check to her, which I get.
Yeah. That's pretty crazy, though. Heather? Is that right? Haley. What's your name?
Vanna.
Oh my god, I'm not even close.
You're so off.
Not even close.
But you got my birth year right.
Hey, what kind of dog is that?
She is a dingo greyhound purple.
Dingo greyhound. So we used to have a dog, a Basenji. Have you ever seen one of those?
No.
Psycho dog. He bit my son when he was like 4. We had to get rid of him.
Next to you, oh, I'm sorry to hear about your son.
They're one of the smartest dogs?
You got rid of your son,
They're one
right?
of the smartest dogs.
They are.
The
They're like cats, though. They think they're cats. It's an African
train
dog.
them because they're smarter
No,
than you.
they refuse. They will not obey. Basenji, I think it's Besenji. And they're from Africa. It's a smaller dog. They're hyper, high energy. They act like cats. They jump on stuff. They climb trees. They're nuts. My wife had to have this dog, and it was an expensive dog. And so we got this dog, and we had it for like a year, and then my son was teasing it, is what it was. He was probably like 3 years old.
Yeah, she kind of looks like that. Maybe
She does. Are you looking at the picture of
Because she
him?
does act like a cat dog. Because like I was taking her to the vet a lot. I was like, my dog is skinny and she sleeps a lot. She has the life I want. Like I don't know.
Yeah, they'll
what's wrong.
probably get out of here.
And they were like, she's part greyhound, so that's why she's so skinny. And they're like, we worry about her weight. She's muscular.
Sure.
We have strings.
What's that?
We pull strings.
Find it out. I knew you were coming.
Ben!
Oh, never mind.
Get to...
Hey, can I hawk something?
Yeah. Yo, your shooting range?
No. Not business.
Oh.
You can do that too.
The Veto Gunmageddon
Sure. At the
petitions.
At the very end of this whole thing, we do kind of anything you want to promote.
Okay.
Anything. It'll be $25.
Yeah, whatever. Is it time to put my earphones on?
Huh?
Is it time to put my earphones on?
You guys ready? Go ahead and kill it. Let's do it.
This segment of the show is brought to you by Riley's Brewing. Local made craft brews for any occasion. Try our Sancha, Cougar, or the all-new Riley's Hard Root Beer today.
All right, the kick is back here on Longbox.FM, brought to you, of course, by Riley's Brewing.
Thank you, Riley. Thank you, Riley's.
We got some fun stuff coming up on Wednesday night with them as we go further and further into Festivus and getting into the March of Festivus starting in October.
Are you talking about Festivus like Seinfeld?
For the rest of us.
We have there's a big event going on that we do every year. December 3rd at Frank's Place. The Longbox.FM is going to present Festivus. We have not released any details other than Nolan Davis is going to be a part.
Will there be airing of grievances?
Yep.
There are airing of grievances. There are feats of strength.
This one's massive.
A carnival. Yep. We got so much crazy going on. So
it's the coup d'etat of what happens in Fresno each and every single year.
And that voice is Ben, who finally showed up tonight.
Hey,
I heard you had driving problems.
Well, I did, but mainly it was the operator and not the apparatus that was being driven.
Makes sense.
Cheers, Riley.
Let's get back now. We're talking about the topic of Clovis Unified School District's transgender bathrooms. AB some number
1266.
1266. There we go. I should know these things. Terrible host. And of course, we got sitting around the room. We got Jacob Belemjian. 2 for 2. That's a rarity. And Josh Fulfer, and our other guest here, Zoyer Zendel. Okay, I could not be perfect. That was just not going to happen. And so you've been listening as we've been talking about the issues going on Clovis Unified. There was one thing that, and I know I kind of teased it on the exit, going out, coming back in. PE. There is the opportunity for transgender kids to back out and not have to be a part of PE.
No, that's something that that's an idea that's been floated.
An idea.
Or that actually, it's something that we discussed here because it was something that was relayed to me by a transgender person. Mm-hmm. But the board has not taken that up. They didn't even discuss it as far as I know.
Yeah, we as a group met with the board, and we understand that state law requires in high school 2 years. That is state law.
Unless you have a doctor's note.
Mm-hmm.
2 years.
Maybe there you go.
School.
It's the medicinal marijuana of identity.
Doc Buchanan instated 4 years of high school for Clovis Unified because of the obesity rate. So right now it's mandatory, but they have different types of PE after you hit after your sophomore year because you're doing sports or other activities. We offered that, okay, if we do have a child that's uncomfortable, can we do an independent PE where a parent signs off on something and they still do the school
like homeschooling?
Pretty much. And the parents sign something once a month, once a quarter, whatever they got to do, and they still have to do their PE testing at the end of the year.
And I talked with Jacob when I was chatting with you on the phone before the show. At what point, if we go down the slippery slope, that is California, that is this current progressive generation, at what point does PE just get banned to stop any of these problems? I mean, we've already lost music for the most part. History books are only starting at 1880.
Did you see the thing they were talking about 9/11? How
it was not a terrorist attack; it was questionable.
No. Kids who are freshmen that are, or maybe I was 8th graders that are taking U.S. history weren't even born. They don't even know what it is.
It's the first first string of students,
first class of students that were born after 9/11. So there's a million ways to skin a cat, and if yes, the state has these guidelines or laws. Let's call them laws and recommendations that that maybe there's a way around it. And that's one of the things that I don't like speaking for other people, but for me that's really bothered me about the board is that they're not interested in talking about these things. They're not it doesn't feel like they're looking for solutions. They're just taking the easy way out.
Well, it sounds like the board's still worried about paint schemes in the bathrooms as opposed to anything else.
That could be. But it seems like they're more interested in just throwing their hands up and saying, well, that's what the law is, so that's what we have to do.
From my aspect on some of this stuff. And one thing that has been brought up, even in this conversation, not truly, and even with Karen Adele Scott when we had her on, we're talking about special privileges, maybe, or circumstances to try to take care of a group of people, transgender in this case. At what point does gay come into play? Because we're not talking about gay boys hanging out in the same locker room with other straight boys, and no one's raising that flag, which surprises me. I thought we would have been like 10 years deep on that one.
I think we're at a young age for that, though. I mean,
how does gay escape?
Well, how does it escape?
Gay escapes this one, right?
Yeah, I have a theory on why that is I think any time you have by appearance someone who is appears male or has been born male, right? And they're, assimilating into a more female role, it bothers people. I think it challenges their views on many levels. It's, challenging based on stereotypes, and it's also bringing to light probably the way we as a culture think of women. Mm-hmm. And so it could be something that it's rooted in patriarchy.
Okay, Ben. You're killing me, man. We raise hands here.
Spit it out, man.
So I'm saying, if this is the 3rd grade elementary class where we raise hands, then I'll wait my turn. I'll only say this. As we talk about the same-sex identifying folks of this country and how it relates to you going into a locker room. Look, this isn't something, and we've identified this so many times on this show, it's unbelievable. This is not something that just started yesterday. This is not something that we've been dealing with for the last year to 2 years. This has been happening for decades, right? Gay males and gay females have been walking into locker rooms and never identified themselves as being gay or otherwise homosexual, and have been changing around other heterosexual males and females, and this has never been an issue. But here we go in today's society where we go, you know what, the media is blowing this way out of fucking proportion, and now...
Oh, yeah, he dropped... F-bombs are okay, too.
Yeah, wow. Sorry. So here we go, blowing this out of proportion.
We're trying to be good here, Ben.
All right, so we're going to KMPH this for a minute. And I'll try. But I'm saying that this has happened for a long time, right? We agree that this is not something new. Now, when we talk about special privileges for certain people who identify as a group, whether it be heterosexual or transsexual and whatnot, I know there's a point that was brought up earlier in the show as far as the locker rooms and shower curtains, right? I hate to say it because I look at everybody as individual in the sense that you want to identify as you want to, then go ahead and do it. But the point is that right now, until we figure out a better middle ground, that now, Josh, right?
No. Yes.
Okay. Now you have a daughter. You talked about 12 years old, if I remember.
She's 10 right now, but
10.
When
Okay.
she's 12, she'll be subject to this.
So when she's 12, she'll be subject to the idea of going into a bathroom, right, and or a gym and changing in front of other girls, or needless to say, like there will be that situation where there are boys who identify as females, right? Now I know Zoyer's talked about the idea of shower curtains. Okay, now. Right now, like I said, I hate to say it because I think that there's no better middle ground right now, but I think that little boys and girls, there doesn't need to be a battleground as far as where you get to change. I think that right now, if you want to be a transgender boy or girl at the age of 12, then you have your own special area, because right now we are still trying to figure that out. We are still trying to figure that out, and it's not necessarily a prejudice to that end. It's just trying to figure out what steps to take next.
Hold on.
I agree with him. So.
Now, I brought it up, the gay role and everything. I would like to also follow up with, I think there's also been a period of time. I'm old enough to know second season of The Real World. Pedro, the gay couple, two men kissing on TV, which was one of the first of that. And of course, now you watch any primetime television show, there has to be a gay couple in every sitcom. It's a thing now, but it's not so or skeezy. And to make that, to balance that out, there was a point where black people could not be in white areas. Black people could not. A black man could not kiss a white woman. That was like. There's a point where we've gotten used to it. There's understanding. There's mixing of people, races, their genders, their sexual identities.
So I actually have a quick comment for that. So what you're talking about is a frog boil, right? You put a frog in a pot of water.
You sound so Clovis right now.
You turn the heat on, right? And the frog doesn't even know that it's getting hotter. He doesn't notice because the temperature just raises gradually. Mm-hmm. That's not what happened here. We threw the frog in the pot of boiling water, and the frog did not like it, right? And that's what happened. It got shoved in people's faces, and they were told, "You're wrong. You know." This is how it is. This is what the law says. And, Clovis Unified doesn't want to get sued. And the ACLU and other activist groups said, we're going to come for you. You either change this or we're coming for you. That's how the second vote on the dress code came. They had a tremendous amount of external pressure from outside the district, not the parents. And as a parent, shouldn't my opinion matter more when it comes to educating my children and Josh's opinion and his wife's opinion than some outside group? I mean, I'm sorry, but I know best for my kids. At least I think I do.
And to me, that's to just touch on that. That's where bring the community together. If the board could sit there and say, okay, we're going to have a meeting on this, and it's going to be on this date at this time, and like a civil discussion like we're having here. What works best for one side? What works best for the other? Okay, you're uncomfortable here. You're uncomfortable here. Okay, let's find some common ground.
I'm glad you said that right there, because one of the smartest people ever been on the show, my mom, she just texted, Group A has rights. Group B has rights. We have a clash of rights. Is there a compromise where each side gives, loses a little? And Jacob, you and I said this on the phone. This is something where I think too many people have planted their heels in the sand, and this is like, I'm not giving anymore. Well, what can we give?
Well, first of all, I don't think our heels are planted in the sand because this is California law. So there's no reason to plant heels.
Yeah, but
again, California
forget laws. I mean, come on.
Well, okay, so again, going back to what you had said, as far as transgender people have been using the bathroom.
Sorry, that mic stand sucks so bad.
I'm finding out. Transgender people have been using the bathroom that corresponds to their true gender identity for a long time. Thank you.
He's getting violent.
Drop it.
Don't worry about it. We're good. Ben just gave up Mike. That was the best thing to happen to the show.
So they've been around for a long time. As long as there's been humans around, there's been transgender people. It's only recently that we're hearing about it in the media, naturally, because our culture is changing. And so transgender people have been using the bathroom this entire time. That corresponds to their gender identity. The reason why it's coming to media now is because of the AB 1266, and also because we got some folks in Clovis who are upset by it. And so this isn't a new thing. It's not something that just came.
Well, and you got to understand, as everybody has a belief, so let's say 25%, let's just say it's 25%, have a religious belief. Are they, obviously, they're not entitled to say, your child has to read the Bible. They're not able to say that. And so now you're taking those people with the religious belief, and they feel they're being imposed on, and yet it just feels to me that, like I said, when you said state law, you said exactly that. Our state is messed up. We here on a local level need to fix that.
To what extent, though? And I asked this question because everybody says our state is messed up, but messed up is a very subjective point of perspective when we talk about our state is messed up because we have this or we have this.
We have a massively bloated bureaucracy. That's the problem.
Right. Yeah. So, but that's the thing is when we talk about being messed up, it's when you talk about that bloated bureaucracy, and I know that you're going to touch on this right now. So I just want to know from a personal standpoint, when you talk about messed up, what specifically are you addressing?
Well, when you look at people who are elected, they always go for the loudest voice.
Sure.
What is that loudest voice? And that's really the truth. You don't have 5,000 Christians going down to Sacramento saying we want this in our schools, but you do see other, whether it's a transgender group, whether it's this group, whether it's that group, they have a loud voice and they are pushing it. They continue to threaten them with, oh, we're going to put this out there. You're going to be out of office. That is what is wrong. Is again, they don't listen to the I would say the majority of most. That's what's going on in Clovis. The majority of most do not agree with this. They feel, okay, let's find something else, but don't impose this on me. And what do? We have activist groups that come in there. They scream, they yell, the ACLU.
Lobbyists.
And they threaten lawsuits. So what do? We cower down and we say, oh, this is gonna protect us from lawsuits.
Well, one of the worst things there is lawsuits, and I think that's a huge. If you want to go back, when everyth's destroyed and the A-bomb's gone off, or the EMPs, or whatever, they're going to say lawyers ruined a lot of shit.
A lot? You mean like everything?
When everybody's upset and working on or screaming about a solution, is there a medium ground? What's the compromise? Right now in this room, just us. Can we come up with creative ideas that can work, that makes the parents, the school board, transgender group, gay group, black group, BLM changing, and maybe white guys are scared of the length of members. How do we make everyone happy? What's a good medium ground? Zoyer.
I think probably the biggest misconception about our side is that if you're born male, that means you're a boy, or if you're born female, that means you're a girl. I think that's where we're hitting a brick wall, and we're not seeing common ground because we're having a disagreement about what is a boy and what is a girl. Some folks believe it's based on anatomy. Other folks maintain it's a function of the brain. So that's what we have here. But I know that if it were any other group, and if we were to say, okay, you have this changing area for this individual, say we took someone's race and we say that, folks of this race have to change over here. If it were any other group, people would be outraged.
But that's not what we're talking about, though.
That's apples and oranges.
I don't think that's a fair analogy.
Yeah. How is it different?
I'll say this much: the issue, at least for me, is when the state starts to implement and decide that they're going to dictate how people behave. So, like I said at the beginning, the First Amendment and your right to express yourself allows you to do that as free as you want until it violates my rights, and it violates my rights when the state forces me to agree by compensating, the policies and everything else that go into place to give. It is special treatment when it comes down, just by definition. There are no trans rights. There are no gay rights, male rights, female rights. They're just rights. Everyone has the same rights.
If you're living and breathing, you're entitled to those rights.
Yeah.
Yes.
So,
but I think the one thing we're talking about, behavioral patterns and traits that transcend all genders and all races, right? You know, if a female or a male wants to act angry, then they're going to act angry. If a man of color wants to act angry, or if a white man wants to act angry, there's that same thing. But what we're talking about is a man, a white man with a penis is the same as an Asian man with a penis, right? Or a female.
You're losing me, Ben.
Color,
yeah.
Right?
What do you?
But that's what I'm saying. I mean, we're talking about you're talking about the differences. You're talking about the differences between one or the other.
I was talking about rights.
Right.
Yeah, no, but I mean,
everybody has those rights, though.
But
everybody has those rights.
The law actually goes against the Constitution of California. You have a right to privacy.
Yep.
So my daughter has a right to privacy. So you just violated that. So you have a law that violates that. So where do you win?
Well, I don't know.
But hold on.
How is privacy violated, though?
We're losing the hands thing here. Your daughter is also changing in a room with a bunch of other girls. So privacy, yeah. That's where it's a struggle to me too. And you're hearing about a lot of kids who are claiming. By the way, high school kids we're talking about here. They're easy to claim anything. That they're distraught. They come home traumatized, and you know that's a really good excuse to get out of school when you have a test coming up. And I'm just being a jerk, but I know what it was like being in high school. Any excuse I could get, I would work it.
Well,
your daughter trying to have privacy in a room full of girls changing. We now introduce another element to this matter, and it becomes an issue. But this element has always been there, hasn't it?
No.
I mean, a transgender person.
No, it's been there for a long time, but the way it was handled was not by state law. It was handled by professionals and teachers who wanted to be educators, psychologists were trained in this. This has been going on, like most people said, since Clovis Unified has been Clovis Unified. This has been going on, but they changed in a nurse's station. They changed over here. Are they just changed the sex they were born in that? And then when it was pushed into law, again, that's where you're at now.
I keep hearing pushing the law, and I think this is one of those things that is really bothering people. Pushing the law means something instantaneously forced upon you, and now we're all reacting.
It was.
Question for you, Jacob. Fresno Unified School District.
Yeah.
Someone said, one of you guys said something about being targeted.
Oh, that was me.
Fresno Unified, I'm not hearing one thing about transgender bathrooms, kids feeling awkward, anything rights, and Fresno Unified is just escaping this.
No, they're a giant compared to Clovis. I mean, there's size-wise.
Oh, they're 72,000.
Yeah, they're almost double
but
the
what's
size
the
of
difference?
Clovis.
You would have double the transgender kids then, right?
You're not going to like my answer, and a lot of people aren't going to like my answer.
Go for it.
So
if you're running for Clovis,
we're the bully on the block. Clovis Unified. You look at anything.
Yeah.
At any sports, academics, debate, science, anything. People are always going after Clovis.
We are better.
This is no different. This is no different. I mean, do you guys? Well, I'm going to date myself here. So I used to watch the Super.
You used to watch what?
The Super Friends when I was a kid. You remember that?
Mm-hmm.
So do you remember when Superman went to the bizarro world where up was down and down was up and right was wrong?
Lex Luthor was a good guy?
Yeah. Lex Luthor was a good guy. So that's what we have here. I mean, I feel like I'm living in this world, in this bizarro world
everything is opposite.
where everything is not necessarily opposite, but it just doesn't make sense. It's like you look up at the sky and it's blue, and somebody goes, "Oh no, that's not blue. That's green." You know, so I think that's what it is, and I think that, this is not directed at you at all, Zoyer, but I think that groups like the ACLU and these other activist organizations say, we're going to go and we're going to put the boot on the neck of Clovis Unified. They're the biggest kid on the block, you know, this as far as, you know, being having their beliefs really deeply entrenched.
Well,
I
Clovis by reputation represents Republican white boy.
It does, and I'll agree with that.
Old school,
but here's something interesting about that. So Clovis last year was the fastest growing city in California. the fastest. Actually, I think it was the fastest growing city in America. I believe. Is that? Do you remember that?
I heard it was Fresno.
Okay,
Yeah.
so
Well, you guys, we enveloped you.
Well, there's been a massive amount of development out
there has been
east
and
of Fowler
why?
too.
Why? You look at every single developer's advertisement, and if it's not the first thing, it'll be one of the first things. And what is it? Clovis schools.
Yeah, you don't get Fresno Unified Schools broadcast on,
No,
on developments.
and so you have people coming to Clovis, and honestly, I think this is part of why we're having these discussions that we're having, because up until 10 years ago, well, maybe a little bit longer than that, maybe right before the economic boom, like 04, 03, 04, when things were just starting to get super heated and we had massive development, the city of Clovis and Clovis Unified has grown tremendously. And instead of being a quasi-homogenous group or a homogenous thinking group of people, we have a lot of people from outside coming in. And I'm not saying that this is bad or good, it's just an observation, but we have a lot of people coming from outside that are coming to Clovis because of it's a super safe city. We have a great police force. We have a good school district. People are nice. You can walk around in Clovis at night and not worry that you're going to get mugged.
Property values relatively high.
Property values are high. There's industry. It's a good town.
You guys are on the right side of the tracks.
It is a good town.
Now,
There's Shelbyville. We're Springfield.
What's that?
Shelbyville, Springfield. Yeah.
Can I ask a serious question?
No.
And this is
we haven't been serious all this time.
All right. No, but this is actually going to ruffle some feathers, and it's really going to make you think, because actually, Jacob, I'm glad you brought this up, because you said that Clovis, since that economic boom 10, 12 years ago, it really has been like a safe place for people to live and to raise families and to go to school. But I'm going to bring up just one of several that I have in my pocket here as far as my Copperfield bag of tricks. But I will bring up if you are a parent of a Clovis Unified School District student, you have the case last year, which every school district does, but make the case for Clovis Unified when you have a photography / baseball / golf instructor who is convicted of lewd acts with a minor. Now, you don't have this just in Clovis Unified, but you have this everywhere. Now, make the case for Clovis Unified when this happens here. What makes this the utopian school district when every other school district out there can make the same claim and probably has some similar issues?
Can I skew that just a little bit? Ben's coming hard here.
No, actually, I don't think he is at all.
No.
I
just want to know the truth.
Okay.
I just want to know the truth because, the case is out there. There were two teachers, Dwayne Andrews and Matthew Pena, last year who were convicted of lewd acts and oral copulation with a minor at Clovis High School.
Yes.
And I want to know what's the case for Clovis Unified when every other school district may have that same issue.
I have a quick answer. The answer is everything else he mentioned before that. The high property values, the safe city, everything else.
So come by a great house in Clovis Unified, but your kids may get molested by their teachers.
But you can say that about every single neighborhood.
But it's like what we said before. There's always a risk, no matter what.
I think. Hold on.
So the risk we're placing is on our children.
No,
Ben,
but
you get that in every.
Keep your mouth closed,
because you're implying that.
No, I'm pointing out.
No.
I understand that. Okay, sorry.
No. Okay, hold on. Yeah, again, hands up. Don't shoot.
I don't like that.
Well played, sir.
I don't like
We're
that.
talking
No,
about Clovis,
I think one of
Oakland.
the misconceptions, possibly, and you were just talking about Clovis as the big kid on the block. We've also, looking through the madness thing on Facebook, you see a lot, I almost like hiding it. Clovis is this good. We don't want to talk about, like, when an incident happens, well, it wasn't proven. Well, a student said something, and there's almost like you got to sweep it under the rug.
I want to say, firsthand, born and raised in Clovis, whether it's Clovis Unified or it's Clovis Police Department, there is an amount of stuff that goes on that that they're very good at not getting out. That they don't want people to know.
Negative press.
Yes, and I'll tell you what, CUSD has been great at that, because what he's talking about right now, there's a lot of other things that you hear of that has not been put out, on the media, and once you get to 2,000 members, you start getting emails, you start realizing a lot of stuff is really going on, and you start hearing about this, and you realize CUSD has their finger on that media to an extent where they can call in favors. They can do things. It's the same thing. It's the same thing anywhere in Clovis. Is a lot of stuff is swept under the rug.
Mm-hmm. So I want to answer or comment on Ben's comment. So Clovis is not immune from having those kinds of things happen.
Sure.
It's Clovis is the shining city on the hill, but we're still subject to the shortcomings or the weaknesses of people, right? Because we're people. I mean, people who live in Clovis, we're cells and body parts, just like everybody else is. We're not any different.
And really quickly, just before you take that any further, I will say that I'm a graduate of Clovis West. I am an alumni of Clovis Unified School District, class of 2000. So I don't bring this up from Fresno Unified or anywhere else as like an outsider trying to attack Clovis Unified.
It's unacceptable.
I'm looking at it from the inside going,
he was
I've seen this and I've heard
2003, right?
Yeah, whatever.
I heard it was 84, but
that's when I started. That's when I started high school. Actually, 85.
No,
it was 85.
and I think what they brought up is a good point, though. I mean, on paper, if you look at Clovis Unified, if you look at the houses, if you look at just the way the city is in general, and like you said, 15, 20 years ago, a lot of people sold their house in the Bay Area for lots of money, came down here, bought 2 or 3 houses, rented out 2 of them, and they were upset with Clovis. What do you mean? They brought that mentality here. As Clovis grows, you live in Sanger now, you go to Clovis East. Clovis is expanding so much and we're widening out that we have a totally different base of residents than we did
our population,
15 years ago.
It's becoming more diverse. I mean, that's
the truth.
That's what's happening to the entire world.
You have integration happening.
We have exactly. And so that's, you have a lot of people who are really, people are resistant to change. They don't like it. I like to go to the same place and get my coffee, and I put the same number of sugars in it and the same number of creamers in it, and I want that same, brand of coffee every day.
But here's the thing, Jacob. Now we're talking, and I know you're running for Area 4 for Clovis Unified, and I commend you for doing that because I think that
I'm insane
as a parent. And as somebody who may want to make a change from the inside, I do commend that. I know that, Josh, you've got the Stop the Madness, and realistically, both of you guys sitting on that side of the table, I really commend you guys for doing what you're doing. But we've now gone to Splenda, when we've completely gone away from the point of how do you get away from the true issues at hand. When we talk about Clovis Unified, I'm not talking about going to your local Starbucks over on Willow and Knees and trying to, sweeten up my coffee.
What are the issues at hand you're talking about?
So what? Yeah, what specific issues is it that you're talking about? Then? I mean, like this person who was convicted of
two
people
who were convicted at Clovis High School.
But you can't.
And this week we had Hoover and Tanaya, right?
How is that anything but a red herring?
Yeah, Hoover and Tanaya in 1 week.
It happened at San Joaquin Memorial, for God's sake. It's a Catholic school.
Absolutely. I mean, there are cases. I'm not, and that's exactly what I said when I brought this point up. Is that there are cases all throughout the unified school districts that all experience these things, but we're talking about Clovis Unified, and we're talking about making a case for Clovis Unified.
Let me step in on this one. I'm sorry. I want to bring it back to the whole point at hand here. We're talking about transgender bathrooms, Clovis Unified School District, and one thing we started talking about, and I don't know if we have an actual, from the people, the great think tank that is this room, brought to you by Riley's. What is a solution that we can work with? Because we've heard, like, your daughter, Josh, you're worried about her privacy issues, and I threw something at you on that one. Jacob, you're running, trying to be someone who's volunteering to get in this mess. And Zoyer, you're somebody who is fighting day to day, not only your whole life, but in this situation itself. How do we find an equal ground? What can we give on each side and take on the other to make everyone happy?
I think that takes the school board, again, meeting with the community, and not, again, let's take the law out. Let's take the school board in, get both sides and talk about it. Discuss at what point do you decide that this is, first of all, relevant? Second of all, where do we go from here? Is this going to offend this side? Is this going to offend this side? I could tell you my daughter will be in 6th grade next year. Do you know the school district cannot promise me when she goes on a 4-day field trip where she's bunking with people that there is not going to be a boy bunking in her room? They cannot tell me that. And that's something as a father I want to know. Because there is instances where a boy has transitioned to a girl for a year and then back to a boy in Clovis Unified. So I think you have to look at the whole scenario, but it's not going to come from the state level. The state level is the last place you want it to come from.
I'll say when it comes to people or kids of that age, and we talked about this with Karen, when it comes to actual transitioning, and we're talking the true transition.
You're talking about
2 doctors have to be a part of it. One being a doctor, one being a psychologist, social worker-ish. It's not a decision done lightly. You can't just one day say, nah, I want to lose my dong. How we do. And there's... By the way, Sandy, I'm so sorry I'm in the middle of something. You can call back. Sandy's interested in talking.
Okay.
Totally ruined it. It's not a decision done lightly, from what I understand. There's a lot of safeties put in place. And I remember being in high school. When I was in high school, and I don't know if this is just every age, gay was was trending. There would be people who would be gay one day and then not be gay. It's kid. We're talking kids, man. Kids are stupid. I was stupid. I'm still stupid. But kids are really, really dumb.
But are you
all
still
the
a kid?
lesbians I went to high school with.
I am right now. Yeah.
Like all the lesbians I went to high school with, all of them have kids now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know that was possible.
It just happens, but
so apparently,
but a transgender kid is not going to be a transgender kid because it's Wednesday.
No.
Well, no.
It's not going to be allowed. There may be a kid saying, I'm transgender because they're looking for attention or something, but a true transgender is going through the stages, has dealt with this, and there are safeties set up, and then, of course, you have to deal with parents, and that's probably, I think, for any kid, the hardest thing to deal with.
So I have a question for Zoyer. So let's take the state law out of this equation, out of this conversation. Let's just take it away. If we were able to control as a community or as a school district, we talked earlier, I shared with you the conversations that I had with my friend who is a transgender woman. And would you agree that maybe letting kids who are transgender kids have a waiver from PE in seventh grade through high school? Is that something that you think is reasonable?
Well, see, first of all, I do want to say that what one transgender person does shouldn't speak for the whole community. That is this flip-flop type thing.
That makes it extremely difficult for us on the other side because we don't. It's
you're trying to set your clock to it.
Well, kind of.
So hold on. Let me answer the question.
Okay.
So I think that, again, from a micro perspective, I think the fact that a student, any student, would be so fearful of taking PE that they would get a waiver is something that needs to be addressed in the whole school because it's,
regardless of transgender or not, correct?
Right. It's a culture issue. If someone's fearing for their safety, because this is about safety.
I'm not talking. No. Actually, I disagree with that.
It's not about safety.
I think that's a part of it, but that's not all of it. Really, what it boils down to, and I'm going to throw the R word out there. It's,
Redskin.
No. Religion. So this issue really cuts into people's core personal beliefs. Okay, and I mean bad. And so for them, this is a morality issue. And I'm not saying that it's right or wrong, that their idea is better than your idea or my idea, but we can't control what people think and how people feel. And my concern is that I don't believe that transgender individuals should be discriminated against any more than any other person should be discriminated against. I wasn't raised that way. I told you guys during the break, my parents are kids of the 60s, so I wasn't raised that way.
Hippie.
Yeah, not me. But I don't have an issue with people of color. I don't have an issue with minorities. I don't care. To me, you're a human being. That's all I care about. If you're a criminal, then you're a criminal and you're an animal, and I don't want anything to do with you, and I want you to stay away from me. But when we talk about people's religious beliefs, that's one of the things that that was one of the main reasons why we got here to where we are. That's what America was about freedom of religion, freedom of speech, freedom to own guns, freedom to control your own destiny.
So isn't being transgender, and just to ask a question, freedom
yes,
expression,
yes,
that's being transgender. It is, correct?
That's fine.
Yes. Okay.
That's fine. But we have a clash when and I'm sorry, Kevin said that you have rights, yes, but when your rights start to infringe, and I'm just making comments here. I'm not giving my opinion.
You are running for Area 4, so we have to be careful now.
I know. So,
as your campaign manager now,
thank you,
Jacob. I'm telling you.
But what Kevin was saying was that at what point, where does one person's rights end and another person's rights begin?
The Constitution.
And this is messy. This is sausage making 101 right here.
Well, I will say though that we're very aware we're not going to change everybody's mind, and that's not even the intent.
Yeah, but that's every group.
The intent is to honor transgender people's identity and keep them safe, because a lot of them, if they use the bathroom according to their designated natal sex, they would be met with hostility.
And I would agree with that.
And the same thing. And what I'm struggling to understand, to be honest with you, is how is a transgender person changing in the locker room offensive to someone else? Because I don't understand that, because that's not them changing the locker room. That's them. It's someone changing the locker room is not changing someone's belief or forcing anything on them. They're just changing.
But if you teach your children what I call morals, respect, and modesty, then you teach them that I don't want my daughter to be naked until she's 25 in front of a man. That's the father. That's Papa Bear.
Burkini.
Ever. Yes.
Yeah, burkini.
So to understand that, and to understand that I'm going to leave my home with what I've been taught and go into a school district, and they're going to teach me something totally different that I have to unwind when I get home. To me, you are taken away from what should be taught at the home. It would just be like me saying, okay, you got a child and you don't believe in God, but I want your child to read 20 pages of the Bible every day. You might be offended by that.
Okay, I see where you're going. Which we're going to start teaching Islam in school. Well,
that's probably actually going to happen.
It sounds like
that's already
there's
happening.
offense being taken by someone sharing the same space. That's what it sounds like.
But it's not. I don't think it's the. I don't. This is my opinion.
Can I bring it back to Real World Season 2? We see two guys kissing. This is new. We've run a certain way for so long. So now when you start throwing things in the gears here, it's going to be an adjustment period for everyone.
But this for many people is not negotiable.
Mm-hmm.
They're
Well, when you throw the R word in there.
Well, but that's and this not just Christians or Catholics or Jews.
But so,
that's the thing.
It crosses all.
Let me ask you something.
Mankind.
Which locker room should I change in?
Honestly,
whatever.
The boys' locker room. Is that wrong?
But I haven't had surgery.
So?
Exactly.
Well, I would say
exactly
what I said earlier as far as the line in the sand between sex versus gender. There is no...
What's on your birth certificate until it changes?
So then that means I'm going to go in the girls' bath.
No. Hold
That's
on,
what that means.
Hold on.
Yeah.
I'm feeling some hostility. Let's calm down a little bit. So my thing is that if I don't... And I said this earlier. If you are a transgender person who is transitioning and you are going from female to male and you are conducting yourself as a male, I don't want to use that word acting because
I know what you mean.
It sounds like you're faking it, and I know you're not.
No, okay, you're fine. You're fine.
So if you're transitioning from female to male and you're doing what males do, then go in the bathroom. I don't have a problem with that.
Bathroom?
As an adult. Go in the men's bathroom as an adult. We're talking about kids here who are their ideas about sexuality and all those things are being formed. And a lot of people, and I'll put myself in this group, I'm uncomfortable with it. I'm not ashamed to say that. I'm very uncomfortable with it.
So aside from, and let me ask this, because I know that there's several kind of biopics or documentaries, if you will, that are out there now. And I just ask this because I think it's a real thing. If you are a parent of, say, a 10, 12, 13, 14-year-old child, be it male or female, and they turn around and they say, hey, look, they come up to you, and like Jacob, they come up to you, or Josh, and they say, hey, Dad.
You know I have 2 boys, right?
Hey, Dad, right?
Yeah.
You know what? I think I want to be a woman. As a son, right? As a son, I want to be a woman, or your daughter, right? And this is just, and all of this is absolutely like hyperbolic and completely hypothetical. But I'm saying now, in your own mind, because you have your own thoughts formed over this one side of things, right? But you have to be hypothetical in the sense where you have to put yourself in the other shoes for just a second to see what's really going on.
That could be anyone's hyphypothetical situation.
Okay, but my question is this. If your sons,
there's a word
Jacob,
for
you
this.
said
It's
you had
called
2
empathy.
sons.
This is exactly what empathy is.
Okay, but in a
being able to
hypothetical
put yourself-
situation, if your sons, one of your 2 sons came up to you and said, hey, Dad, I think I want to be a woman.
Okay.
Right?
What would I say?
How do you respond to that?
I don't think I can give you an honest or accurate answer. I think that is so abstract to me that I don't know how to answer the question.
I would say I agree with what he said, but whatever my son or daughter did say, I would say I'm not going to allow you to impose that on somebody else that isn't thinking like you. I'm not going to let you impose that on 99.7% of the other population.
So but when living your life is an imposition.
Well, and that's
when
a
they're
good point,
18, they can do what they want. That's what I was told. I wanted to do a lot as a kid, and my mom said, and my mom was old school, my mom said, you do whatever you want when you're 18, but under my house, my rules.
Man,
by the way, let me just interject. Raise the hand so we don't. This has become sensational. We'll have a lot of viewers if we start yelling, but
we don't want that.
Yeah.
Proven this
before.
Keep it cool. Worked.
I'll say one more thing.
We're 7
before I go.
Yeah, Kevin's got to bounce.
Kind of reiterates from before the difference between sex and gender and the objective biological evidence behind sex and the dichotomy of the male and female. Policy needs to be written on objective truth. Gender, because it's subjective, policy cannot be written on subjectivity. So we can fight, we can argue about compassion and so forth, but the first point is that the policy needs to be written based on objective truth, which is there are males and females. There are outliers, but they don't reproduce. We're talking about hermaphrodites and such.
The intersex.
But for the obvious, massive, almost all people, male and female, that is where the law is going to be written from. The second point is, as far as the safety of transgendered people, unfortunately, it is nobody else's responsibility for anybody else's safety. You are responsible for your own safety. I know if you get subject to it, it sucks. Bullying exists. Assholes exist. The way you stop that is to teach the empathy to the child before they reach that. And I'm always more of an advocate of free market education and getting the labor, getting the union and the teachers union and all that shit, getting state control, all of that out of it. But another show, definitely.
You can't leave yet because you just flamed. Jacob threw up first.
Okay, so
Zoyer will be next.
I don't even know where to start. So I'm just going to throw this out there. The reason that we are in the predicament that we are in is exactly what you said, that we have a bloated, ginormous bureaucracy that has this, and I guess I'm hoping to be a part of this bureaucracy because I'm trying to get elected.
Yeah, you're a politician.
I'm a politician now, but they're not acting in what's in the best interest of everyone else.
Of course.
They're acting in what they think in the best interest of them getting reelected.
Yeah.
And whether that's capitulating to interest groups or taking money from powerful, wealthy people, that's what's happening.
Yeah.
I do agree with you on the objective, that if we want to gauge it, it needs to be done on objective measures. But the problem is that that's never going to happen because we're human beings and we're subject to our prejudices.
Mm-hmm. We got to hate everything.
Well, not necessarily hate everything, but
some will.
Yeah, but I think that this is going to sound not crass, but abrupt. What I'm going to say, and that is that I have a problem with, and Zoyer, this is not directed at you or any other particular group, but Clovis used to be a certain way, right? When I was a kid, they used to say, when the signs turn brown, turn around, right? Because I was a Fresno kid, right? I went to Board
They
High School.
still say that.
So I went to Board High School, right? And that was because the Clovis Police Department didn't put up with anything.
Yeah.
Nothing.
Oh,
Zero
absolutely.
tolerance, right?
That's the truth right
so
there.
So when I was a kid, in high school and doing stuff I wasn't supposed to be doing, we didn't do it in Clovis because you didn't want to get caught in Clovis. So my point is that we have all these people coming, and I mentioned this before, coming to Clovis. Why are they coming to Clovis? They're coming to Clovis for all the reasons that we just mentioned. But the problem is that those people are coming to Clovis and they're bringing with them their ideas about how things should be, and they're changing Clovis into what they claimed they didn't want. They wanted to come to Clovis for what Clovis had to offer, and now they're trying to change it into something that isn't what attracted them in the first place.
The grass is greener until you eat and shit all over it.
Yeah, exactly. That's a great way of putting it. And I think that we're that we have to, these are things we have to deal with, and we have to come up with solutions that are fair and equitable, or as fair and equitable as we possibly can. Yeah. So I think that's you can't refute that.
Yeah.
It is what it is.
It's a given.
Let me throw this out there. Zoyer, you get next shot, last shot. We got to close this up. I know everybody. We could do this, right? We could do this for the next 48 hours straight.
No.
Yeah. No. It's a conversation that's never going to end.
No.
But we took a shot at it. Zoyer, give us something, and then we'll do final plugs.
Oh yeah. It sounds like kind of like the way you're pitching it is whatever happens to them, not our problem. If people want to murder transgender people, if they get beat up at school, not our problem.
I disagree with that.
I'm
not trying to say that.
Oh no,
Yeah.
I don't think I'm just his.
Yeah. I know where you're coming from.
That's how it came across, whether or not you meant it that way. And the other thing too is that I don't think that gender. I think some elements of gender expression can be subjective, but I don't think that gender in itself is subjective, being it's a function of the brain. And the reason why I say that is because if gender was subjective and something that could be molded and change, something that is just finicky or fickle, I should say,
flippant.
Yes. Then we wouldn't have androgynous people at all. Because if there are so-called only two sexes, then we wouldn't see any androgynous people whatsoever. I would have been happy living as a female if gender was something that is subjective. I would have been able to be like, okay, well, I can kind of mold with the rest of society, and that would have been an easier life for me. Doing this was extremely difficult, I lost rights doing it, and so. I don't think that it is something that's not objective. In fact, many transgender people try to suppress their transgender identity before they come out, and it doesn't work. We can't help but be anybody but us. You can't make someone who's left-handed right-handed. It just doesn't work like that. I'm just informing you.
Yeah, no, I got you.
Yeah, no, and I didn't take offense to what you said either.
Not here either.
So yeah, and I just think that there's you had asked earlier what the solution is, and I don't know if we're going to see one today or this year, but I think that talking helps. Talking helps. Meeting y'all meeting me. I think that.
Did you say y'all?
I did say y'all.
He is a little Clovis.
He is a little Clovis. I did say y'all. I did say I was an alumni from Clovis Unified.
We call that a tell. That's a tell.
I'm going to start to close this up here, and I'll start off with, I think I have a good medium. Don't be a dick. Really should be just the general rule.
Even if you just want to get rid of it, okay?
That was the first.
Oh my God.
Don't be a dick. Respect other people's rights. A long battle to happen here. Maybe in 10 years we have a new thing going on and we're okay with transgender because we moved past it. What was that?
Oh, wait. Yeah,
sorry.
Yeah.
You walked out. Final plugs. Zoyer, since you just went on this, any websites, any information, anything you want to give up, how we can find you, talk to you later.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. You can find us through our Facebook, Facebook.transemotion/ and
wait, what is it? Say it again.
Facebook Transemotion.
Okay.
Just typing Transemotion will come up. Also, our phone number, 559-464-5806, and that rings our board members' phones. And so we are here to advocate for the transgender population, as well as have nice conversations with folks of various perspectives. So we do advocacy and education. We do training. So yes, I am putting that out there. Please let us know if you'd like us to come and educate and inform you all on this topic that some people may be fearful of. So yeah,
I appreciate that. And Josh.
Yeah, you can reach us. We have a group and a page. The best source of information is our Facebook page, which is Stop the Madness CUSD. And or you can like the page. We also have a web page that's stopthemadnesscusd.org. Any of us will get back to you. And again, we're just trying to keep Clovis.
And finally, you're running for something, Jacob?
Nah.
You changed your mind.
Don't use his name anymore either.
Yes, I am running for Clovis Unified trustee for Area 4. But I want to use my time to hawk something else.
Go for it.
So I'm the owner of the Firing Line. It's an indoor shooting range in Clovis. And right now we are fighting Governor Brown and Gavin Newsom and the rest of the ridiculously moronic legislature that we have.
Would that be like Prop 63?
No, well, Prop 63 is one of them, but there's a group called Veto, like veto a law, Veto Gunmageddon, that has crafted some some petitions in order to try to get enough signatures to have a ballot initiative on the 2018 ballot to repeal all of the gun laws that our esteemed governor signed into law this year. We're running
a jackass.
Yeah, we're running because it wasn't bad enough the first time, right?
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, I'm old. I was alive when he was governor the first time. But anyway, we're running up against a deadline.
Wait, what? And we voted for him again? Are you serious? That's that guy who dated Linda Ronstadt, right?
Please tell me you're joking. Please tell me you're joking that you did it.
Yeah, look up Moonbeam.
Yes.
Is that the Dead
Yes.
Kennedy song when you mess with President Brown?
Yeah.
That's what that's about.
Okay, so anyway,
Sorry.
we're coming up against a hard deadline. The last day to sign is this Sunday. Literally every place in Fresno and Clovis that sells guns has the petitions there. You have to be a registered voter in order to sign. But here's the good news. You can always register to vote via your smartphone with an app. You can sign the petition and register to vote all at the same time. I would encourage anybody who is a freedom-loving individual to sign these petitions, regardless of whether you like guns or you don't like guns. This is about the Constitution. This is about what's right and what's wrong.
Is there somewhere for people to sign that online, Jacob?
No. Unfortunately, actually, that's one of the petitions to sign, is to change this from this archaic pen and paper signature process to an online system.
So is there a petition for the petition?
MoveOn.org does online petition.
But MoveOn.org is not changing law.
Oh.
There's a difference.
Yeah, and he'll give you 75% off all guns
no,
if you
whoa,
go
whoa,
in there.
Whoa,
and
no,
sign
that
it.
is not true. That is not true.
No.
Well, let me close this off, guys. First off, I've never shot a gun in my life. So, Jacob, can I go shooting?
Yeah, can we go?
Are you serious,
Field
Daddy?
We'll
You guys
videotape
want
it.
to do a show?
Never shot a gun.
Are you
wanna do
kidding
a show
me?
from
Let's
the-
do
from
a
the store?
show from the store.
We'll bring in Riley's,
Hell
who's
yeah.
got his pub coming.
Okay, so hold on. we cannot have any alcohol at our
No.
facility.
I mean the actual Riley.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
No, with
Awesome.
like 5 cases of
He's a
Riley.
real
No, we
person.
can't have
And
it.
no, we drink in the parking lot. We
Riley
fire
story.
inside.
We do this smart.
No. This is not happening.
None of that.
The police are already at
No,
the store
obviously,
right now.
no.
Yeah. But yeah, absolutely.
No, I'm glad you brought that up because we're talking Prop 63, we're talking Prop 57, and that's happening next week. Sheriff Margaret Mims and possibly, still working on it, Chief Dyer will be here hanging out in studio. Also, Mama Dowdy. She's doing her research. I asked her up tonight. Can you get ready for this? So next week should be interesting. And props are something that nobody knows. You all go to vote for the president, and then you look at the rest of the ballot and go, that name looks cute. We're going to educate you and get you in on it. And 57 especially, no.
So
no.
57 is just absolutely insane. So Prop 47 wasn't bad enough.
Yeah.
So now we have Prop 57. Prop 47's big brother.
We're going to bring it all to home.
Oh.
It involves a rich person who found a loophole or created and bought their way to get a relative out of jail. That's what it is. That's how 47, that's how 3 strikes got broken up.
Really?
No. It's all Saul Alinsky tactics.
Yeah, he's been dead for a long time, though.
Yeah, but he left a legacy.
His legacy lives on.
He's like herpes.
He's like a bad
It just
penny.
doesn't go away. One last thing, Josh.
I would just like to say thank you for having this conversation civilly and appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you, everyone.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thank you. Thank you.
That was a win.
I got so many comments on all of our feeds about this is really great. I love the hands up. I love the not shooting.
Don't shoot.
And then people just doing it right. And this is what needs to happen. We don't get better until we can talk like normal human beings. And with that, this is Dowdy saying for everyone in the room, the kick, all that, sponsored by Riley's Brewing. I hope we woke you up. We'll be back next week.
So do you work at Riley's Brewing or something?
You go to the slideshow?
We are all employees of Riley's.
Seriously?
That's your sponsor.
No, seriously?
That's our sponsor.
You guys make beer?
We market.
No, we get paid
we're
in
sponsored.
beer.
Oh.
I don't drink it, so. But what was the shop?
We're
Twitter
sponsor. Everybody line up against this wall.
Let me do my job. I need to get the locations. Okay. Firing.
There's a map on the back.
Okay, thank you.
One more for the road?
And I can go in
And
before
actually, I'd like
Saturday
to
to sign that, right?
Yes,
I
Sunday.
actually wanted
Sunday.
to look at those too. I'm 25 and I don't want it bothering me.
Sunday.
You said you signed it, you get 75% off.
Don't listen to Josh, he's full of shit.
Dana. Off of camera. Actually, I wish I had no cameras, but that's what we want. Vana Varicose. Jacob, Vanna.
Oh my god.
You seen this?
You already getting the hate now?
No. So Sandy Tarosian sent me an email that says she was at the.
Now I know how old you are.
You can't go to school night. She said somebody came on the loudspeaker at BHS back to school night and said, this is quotes, "We want to thank our CSU board members for being here tonight," and then read off their names.
Well, you heard about the charge, what they did at the charge. Check this out. Okay, just
for the board
picture
members.
first, and then we can bash anyone after.
Yeah.
Turn on in, guys.
Dog, get in.
I promise I don't find her.
Kyle, IP4, get in there, even though I don't want you.
Yes, I was trying to get the
Okay, there we go. Everybody look forward. Vanna, stop dancing.
Moving.
Every week you're the hardest one, Vanna. Okay, we're.
That's not good when we're talking about transgender.
I'm mad at you because you quit.
Appreciate it.
I'm mad at you because you quit.
That's a pleasure, bud.
It really was.
Hey, we'll get it together on the side and figure out some stuff.
Actually, we did one before today.
Like I said,
had to
if
give
we
you
come
one last
together
hour.
and break up everything else, it can happen. It can happen, I promise you. It's just going to take...
Thank you.
So I have to tell you what I was thinking. When I told you I was hard to don't right?
Yeah.
So when you said that your name was Zoyer, I heard Zoyle.
Oh yeah.
And have you seen that movie, Paul?
No.
Oh, you should watch it. It's hilarious.
About the alien?
Yes. Anyway, Zoyle is like, well, I won't tell you about this, but he's like a kind of a villain in the movie, and his name is Zoyer. And when you said that, I thought, really?
Yeah.
I never heard that name before. Someone else has it now. So.
Well, good luck.
I'm jealous now. We're gonna move everything out of the living
I
room.
mean, like I said, I'm in the flesh now.
Put a second mortgage on the house.
I saw you
You're a
at the
10-year-old
phone
that you
store,
wanted
and I
to
saw
go
you at the
again.
and
I want her to get called.
Yeah,
I
then you
feel
might
like-
have this.
I mean, did the board invite you guys to come and speak, or did you guys do that on your own?
I can imagine.
Because I think it would
I
have
can
been better for
imagine.
you if they
Yeah,
had
this,
invited you to
this
come and
is-
speak and talk
this
about
is
some
far
stuff
about
that we
40.
talked about here.
This is.
I mean,
And
Sorry,
I've been it was very nice. Nice meeting you. I like your shirt.
Thank you again. Thank you. Appreciate your patience.
Yeah,
definitely.
Much more than I've been on.
I've
been on Power
We're
Talk.
not doing radio.
So I don't
We're mixing in the video
No,
stuff.
that's
Oh,
what
it
it
is. I don't think anybody in this room does.
There's more
But
money,
my
more
point
time
is
put into the
that
video than
most
the
of
audio.
these, I mean,
Really?
yes, there are some people who
I
are
hate
just
the
way
video,
out on
but
the, in the weeds.
listeners
And I can't speak for them. I
Current day
don't know.
listeners,
But
people
like
want
the
to
stuff
see
that
them.
matters,
That's why
I met
Facebook
them
Live's a
after
thing
I had
now.
already filed my
People need
papers, and
moving
they
images. Like,
saw that I
the
was
rating.
running, and they.
Well, I can tell you, I'll definitely be
they want
following you
the
now
board
and watching
changed.
you. I can
And I do
guarantee
too.
that.
And there's a lot of other people
This
that
is
do
a
as well.
legit.
They've
This
been there
is
too
really
long
legit.
for all the
Thank you
reasons
very
that we
much.
talked about
It's,
tonight.
Yeah, the lack of
No, I'm
transparency.
serious.
It's terrible.
Yeah.
But it would
It's pretty
it
cool.
would be
It's
nice.
important to me
I
that
think
what we're
a lot of
doing-
these people, if they met you, obviously.